Oh, look at me.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's edition of the Brett and Matt Show. As always, he's Brett. I'm Matt. I did just think of something. We should maybe start off this week's show with a little bit of an update to our Pick'em links, so that people, they want to just hear where they're standing. They can hear where they're standing. Was not a good week for me or you.
It was a terrible week. I don't remember if I got the pick last night wrong or right. If I got it wrong, I think I only got 3 right this week, maybe 4.
I think I got
bad.
I got 5.
So that means I got 3 because I was beating you. Now you're beating me. So I got 3 right this last week.
Yeah, it was a rough week to say the least for our picks. I believe Joe Veek is still dominating though.
He is. He was at 20. I don't know who he picked last night. I'll presume the Colts, but you never know. So he's at least at 20, might be at 21. I think he's got a 2-pick lead already after only 2 weeks. So Joe Veek's kicking ass. He's probably going to win whatever the prizes that we come up with here.
He actually, here I'm looking at the standings right now. He's got a 1-point lead over Deflate Face.
Oh, Riley, my boy, my brother Riley, he's catching up. Joe, don't let him win. I don't want Riley to win. You know.
Oh my gosh, right? Let's see, and then we have Lazas or Lizas. I don't know who that is.
I think. Oh, that's Leezy. That's going to be Cortland.
They're at 18. We have Tsunami at 18, and then we have a bunch of people at 17. We have St. Pat's Revenge, who is my buddy Eric. We have Ryan's at 17. I'm guessing that's Ryan anyways. Arthur 10. Yep. And we have Lars Start the Car at 17. And then there's me finally at pick 6 at 16 picks. I am 16-16. Wow.
You're better than I am, man. I'm way down there now. Is my mom beating me yet?
You're at 14th, man.
Where's like Olsen or Sparta Olsen? Where are they at?
In front of you.
Are they really? They were in last week.
They're actually tied. They're actually tied.
Oh my god, they were in last. Henry didn't make his picks this week, so he's all the way at the bottom with 8.
Ooh. Yeah, it was I gotta step up my picks a little bit here. This is unacceptable. It's our own show and we're getting made to look like fools right now.
True. Very true.
So anyways, I guess now that we went over that a little bit, we'll go over some of the action that happened in week 2. So the Thursday night game was the Broncos and the Chiefs, and I watched a good portion of that game, and I got to say, I thought the Chiefs were going to rout the Broncos. And then this Andy Reid is a terrible play caller. He should really give up his play calling duties because clock management and just he had Alex Smith throw a terrible pick that allowed the Broncos to tie it right at halftime, which is just like,
oh, were they instead of just running it, he tried passing it
just running it. And then that Chiefs defense is really good, but I mean Jamal Charles, you gotta hang on to the football, man. I mean, just it was ugly.
Yeah, the most surprising thing to me is that Peyton Manning's honestly, he's played pretty bad. Like obviously not anywhere close to where he's been. We're lucky if he's at the middle of the pack right now in the NFL, and the Broncos are still 2-0.
The Broncos have a crazy good defense. I will say that much.
That pass rush is legit, and that secondary is legit.
Secondary is very good.
They're keeping them in the game. I mean, it's almost like Seattle-esque, I guess, in that their defense keeps them in games and is allowing them to win with not great always quarterback play.
Well, and one thing I will say about Manning is he did play better when they stopped doing what Kubiak likes to do, and they pretty much just went to Peyton Manning being in the shotgun the whole time. I don't know. Maybe the Broncos need to consider changing their offense a little bit to fit their quarterback instead of the other way around. So that's something I think to keep an eye on in the future.
Yeah, it definitely is. You know, if Kubiak as the offensive guy is going to want to try to keep it that way, or, you know, be successful with Peyton Manning. It worked probably with any other quarterback, but Peyton being Peyton's going to really need his offense, I think, to thrive. Can't really change that up on him, in his last year or two. So definitely a lot better when he does his thing.
Yeah. What's the next game you get?
Next game we have is the Texans and the Panthers, which the Panthers ended up winning 24-17.
You already know what I'm going to say, so I'm so glad that so many people – you already know what I'm going to say. I just wish that, for being how good J.J. Watt is, that, it would have more of an impact, maybe help the overall team win ball games.
Well, let's be fair here. Okay.
Dude, Carolina's offensive line is terrible. How the heck did they win?
Let's be fair here, and let me say this. J.J. Watt still is the best player, is just not the most valuable because of position. I think we can all say that the quarterback position is way more valuable than a defensive end. And I've maintained that throughout this whole thing. So, and I have, don't give me that face, I definitely have. So with that in mind, the only person that is worse or tied with Peyton Manning at the bottom of Pro Football Focus's rankings, Ryan Mallett. They've got just awful, awful quarterback. He completed less than half of his passes. I mean, they should just have Tim Tebow playing. They might be better with Tebow. At least he'll run around. Tebow, Mallett's not running anywhere. Guy's a statue.
Yeah, the Texans are hurting right now. Carolina, they don't have any receivers. Cam Newton is just freelancing and pulling literal Superman flips in the end zone and
landed on his feet. That was awesome.
It was impressive. Yeah, so I mean that's I don't really have a lot to say besides that I think Carolina is probably going to challenge Atlanta for the NFC South, but that's maybe the Bucs will surprise. But sorry, Brett, I just don't have a lot of faith in the Texans to do much of anything. Not with the quarterback situation.
Alfred Blue has played awful. I don't even know who their other running back is. I don't know when Foster comes back either, if that's supposed to be soon or not. Do you know when Arian's supposed to come back?
I think he is supposed to come back kind of soon, though, isn't he?
It should be, hopefully soon, yeah. Because, Blue hasn't done much as far as like running back goes. But at the same time, I don't know why Ryan Mallett had to throw the ball 58 times. That just seems kind of odd of an offense to have your quarterback throw almost 60 times when it's not, a Brady or Breeze or Rodgers or somebody like that whipping the ball around.
That's a good point. Yeah, it's a great question. I'm not sure.
Anyway, next game, 49ers-Steelers. 49ers obviously last week looked really great. This week, not so much, losing to the Steelers 43-18.
It was a rout. It was just, it was never close. I mean, the Steelers just, the defense for the 49ers played good the week before, and then this last week just didn't even show up. Carlos Hyde got hurt. The thing I'll say about the Steelers is, I mean, they have a really good offense, and I think, honestly, the Steelers are probably one of the better teams in the AFC overall. And once they get Le'Veon Bell and Martavius Bryant back, I mean, Antonio Brown can't be stopped. Like, he's amazing. Like, I really think the Steelers are legit.
Yeah, that was one of the things they talked about to begin the season. It didn't happen, I don't think, against the Patriots, but, I think Roethlisberger said he wanted to average like 35 points a game, which might be possible with that team.
And I will say this about, I think if the Steelers wouldn't have shot themselves in the foot and missed field goals and opportunities, I think they would have had a really legit chance to beat the Patriots.
Would have. I mean, yeah, because they ended up, Darius Hayward-Bay does a Darius Hayward-Bay thing and doesn't catch the ball in bounds. Didn't get any points on that drive. I mean, yeah, they definitely had a shot in that first game. Obviously looked really, really good against the 49ers. What I also like, too, is, and I think this is kind of what the NFL wanted, is finally somebody starting to do it. They're going for two when they score touchdowns.
Yeah,
Roethlisberger just looks over. He says, "Hey, coach, we're going for two," and they just go for two. And I think they got both of them. And then they
did. I think Haven't they been missing PATs though?
Yes, they tried the PAT and they missed.
That's the only reason why they're thinking their kicker missing PATs.
So yeah, but I think that's kind of fun and exciting, and that's kind of the whole purpose of moving the kick back, is it gives you something to think about. And when you've got that offense clicking the way they've been clicking, trying to stop them from getting 2 yards or whatever it is, especially when they get Bell back, it's going to be even harder.
Yeah, it is.
The team should be exciting. Meanwhile, for the 49ers, I mean, what was Hyde's injury? Do we know how long he's out?
Like a thigh contusion or something. He's questionable.
Does that mean Reggie Bush has to play running back?
I do not. I don't know. I have no idea.
Anyway, next game, we've got the Bucs who beat the Saints.
What is going on with your boy Drew Brees, Brett, huh? I thought you said he was an elite quarterback.
I said
he lost to Jameis Winston.
I may have said that. Apparently, there's word is that he's got a shoulder injury.
He does, yeah. He's got an injured rotator cuff apparently.
So that's probably affecting his velocity on some passes. And he wasn't necessarily a velocity guy anyway. But
man, what happened to the Saints being so dominant at home? My goodness.
I don't know, man. That team, they mishandled that team so badly, though, with the cap and like all this other stuff that they tried to do for that team just to get under the cap and some moves they made. Like, it just hasn't worked out for them. I mean,
no, it hasn't.
Trading
Jimmy Graham away was not a good idea for their offense's sake. Actually, I feel like that trade was bad for both sides.
It didn't work out for either team. Both teams got the short. I don't even know how that's possible, but it worked out for neither of them to this point. Meanwhile, obviously, Winston had a much better game this week than he did the week before. He actually had, I think, not a higher passer rating, but he actually graded out higher on Pro Football Focus than Mariota did in week 1. Just to kind of give you an idea for the types of passes that he was asked to make and the sort of throws that he made, had a higher degree of difficulty, and he made them really well. Mm-hmm. So maybe that was just some week 1 jitters. Obviously, judging a guy off of 1 week is never the brightest idea. So, I mean, was the number 1 pick for a reason. So I expect probably more games closer to that one than what we saw in week 1, which was bad.
Yeah, I agree.
Next game, Vikings Lions. Minnesota Vikings ended up winning that game 26-16 at home. The Lions fall to 0-2.
I was flipping between this game and the Bills Patriots game, and I watched a decent amount of it. Yeah, Matt Stafford, I tweeted out about it. It drives me nuts that he does this goofy sidearm throw. I'm just like, I'm glad. And the stupid commentators are busy complimenting him and saying that it's good. He throws from weird angles. Well, that's fine as long as you're accurate. When you're not accurate, throwing like a goofball, like you just look like a bozo. That's enough about my Stafford sidearm rant, though, I guess. Stafford got his butt kicked. Like, he was getting pummeled and hit on a regular basis. Like, I know the Vikings defense is pretty legit. It probably didn't seem that way against San Francisco the week before, but they came to play this week. Maybe it's because it was a division game and they obviously don't like the Lions and vice versa. Adrian Peterson looked like he was back to being Adrian Peterson. The only thing he didn't do well was, 1, he didn't find the end zone, and 2, he fumbled the ball. Like, he had 3 fumbles total. I mean, I think he got one of them back, but
that was something. Good. Remember when he was earlier in his career was an issue for him, was fumbling, and then like was known for fumbling, and then there was like a year or 2 where he just didn't fumble at all. Like, he totally cleaned it up. So maybe with that year off, maybe that's just something else that he's gonna have to keep working on to kind of get back to where he had been. Because that is kind of scary. If you're putting the ball on the ground 3 times, those are usually 50-50 balls. So that's 1 or 2 turnovers potential in that sort of game. So
yeah.
Definitely can't be having that out of your guy. Did he have a huge run call back?
If he did, I missed it because I didn't see that. He did. Him and Bridgewater did have a nice little hookup though. That was kind of fun. Did a little, I think it was a shovel pass kind of thing. But and for the Lions, I don't know. Like their offense just didn't look that impressive to me. That was just my opinion, I guess. Oh my God, they don't use Abdullah at all. I was so upset.
And what was that? Sorry, we skipped out there on my end.
They don't use Abdullah, the running back they drafted, at all. Instead, they use Theo
Riddick?
Yeah. I was upset.
And they're another team that threw the ball 53 times in that game. That's not my kind of offense. You know what I'm saying? Like, we watch Green Bay, and we have, the best quarterback in the league for a team we cheer for. They still don't throw the ball 50 times a game. We figure out a way.
Rodgers isn't close to throwing the ball 50 times a game.
Like, it's crazy how often some of these other teams have to throw it. Next game, Cardinals Bears. Cardinals just beat the crap out of the Bears in what is honestly beautiful. If you're the rest of us in the North, it's kind of fun to watch.
Dude, the Cardinals. The one thing I'll say about the Cardinals, because they beat up on the team that played last week, they beat up on the Bears this week. I do kind of wonder how they're going to play against a much better team. They do play the 49ers this coming week, so, I mean, that's a rivalry game. Should be interesting. But, yeah, I mean, Carson Palmer has been playing at a super high level, like, just as good as any, like, top-tier quarterback. Yeah, and, I mean, they routed the Bears. It was ugly.
Yeah, dude. And remember last year, the Cardinals, even without Palmer through 10 weeks, were, I think, first in that division. And they were having guys like Drew Stanton and Ryan Lindley play quarterback or whoever they were. So as long as Palmer is healthy, I mean, he obviously was always good. He was never, other than I think 1 or 2 years, like a really great quarterback, but he's always much better than average, which last year they were playing below average guys. So that team is still pretty legit, I think. And at this point, especially having like a 2-game lead on the Seahawks, it's going to be awfully hard, I think, for Seattle to come back from that unless they can steal both games against the Cardinals at some point. So the Cardinals look legit. Meanwhile, Jay Cutler for the Bears goes down with an injury. Was he trying to make a tackle? Is that what happened? Like after a turnover? In one play, add injury to insult. I know it's usually insult to injury, but go the other way. So obviously that's not going to be good. Who's their starting quarterback now?
Clausen.
Jimmy Clausen. Oh my God.
Gets to go into Seattle. Probably an angry Seattle team.
I am so sorry,
That's
Bears fans. They all wanted to get Cutler out of there for the longest time.
Well, so if they get a high pick, best thing that can happen to them.
So that'll be a good game this next week. I'm sure of it. Meanwhile, the Patriots offense still clicking. Scored 40 points on the Bills, who the week before pretty much shut out. The Colts. Colts couldn't do anything. Beat the Bills 40-32. I mean, Tom Brady. He's still the man.
Yeah. I mean, I actually watched. I watched a lot more of this game than I did the Vikings Lions game. Those are the 2 games I got. I watched. Just Brady is I think Rodgers is still the best quarterback, and I think he showed why on Sunday. But man, I think Brady's number 2. Like, he is just crazy good. And I know all the people that are Colts fans listening to this, I'm sorry, but I'm just speaking the truth. He's good. Cheating, no cheating, whatever you want to call it. Like, he's crazy good still, where Peyton Manning has hit a definite decline. I think Brady is still playing at just a top-tier level. Like, you could ask Brady to carry that team, and I think he definitely could, hands down. And it's kind of fun to watch. Like, they just pick teams apart. Gronkowski is just – even when they have, like, 3 guys on him, he still finds a way to get open. Like, he's just I think Gronk opens up things – for like Edelman to run underneath routes, and it's just a great combination.
Deion Lewis, I think, has looked pretty good too. Is like a little back,
little scat back. Yeah, he's really good at like this jump cut kind of thing, and he's added a little spark to their offense. Yeah, the Patriots, they're legit. The one thing I'll say about the Bills, I was really impressed with Tyrod Taylor. I know he threw a couple picks. Both of them, they hit the receiver in the hands, but he did make the receiver jump for it. You're in the NFL. You should probably catch the ball. Like, I understand, like, the quarterback threw it high, but overall, I actually was pretty impressed with Tyrod Taylor. I thought he played pretty well for the most part. I mean, like I said, the 2 picks suck, but he's trying to make a play, and ultimately the receivers play in the NFL. Like, you got to make that catch. So, but I don't think you can fault Tyrod Taylor for that loss.
Some news out of Buffalo, too, that's just within the last hour or so. They did trade backup quarterback Matt Castle to the Dallas Cowboys. So if anything were to happen to Taylor, if anything happens to Tyrod Taylor, E.J. Manuel back in the lineup. Hopefully for the Bills' sake that doesn't happen. Next game, we got the Chargers at the Cincinnati Bengals. Cincinnati pulled that one out 24-19. I think there was a game-sealing pick there from Vincent Ray there at the end with like less than a minute to go.
This was probably one of the better matchups, I guess, the whole week. The thing I'll say about the Chargers is that Phillip Rivers is completing a high percentage of his passes. I think in the first 2 weeks I saw a stat of like 81%. Now he's also thrown like 3 picks or something in these weeks. So someone's catching the ball. It just might not be his own team.
That's true. And I'm looking at it here, and they had to kick 4 field goals. Oh, I think they went for 2 on one of them. So they kicked 2 field goals, though, in the first, one each in each of the first 2 quarters, whereas Cincinnati was scoring a touchdown in each one of those. Right. So, I mean, obviously they're getting decent drives. They're just not getting it in the end zone. Which obviously in the NFL, you got to score points. That's the name of the game. So they should got to figure out a way, even though they're completing high percentage of their passes. Melvin Gordon's looking okay. They still don't have a great offensive line, so not opening up much for him. But he had at least one decent run.
He did. He looked a little better this week.
So there's that. And then the Bengals, A.J. Green did make that phenomenal touchdown grab, which I know we said last week, sometimes he lets some of those go, but that was a great catch.
Yes.
And then the next game, the Tennessee Titans back down to earth a little bit, losing to the Cleveland Browns 28-14.
My boy, actually both my boys. I like Mariota and I like Johnny Football. Well, let's see. Johnny Football actually played, I thought, pretty well. He showed a little flash of what he did in college that made him good, where he broke contain, and Travis Benjamin's really fast. Also just good in general. And Mariota. The one knock on him coming out of college was what, Brett? Do you know?
On Mariota?
Yes.
Well, the knock on him was apparently that there was no knocks on him. That's what I read.
That is false. Mariota, just look it up. One of the knocks coming out of college was that he fumbles the football. He had at least, I think it was at least 2 fumbles, and 1 he got back, or the offense still recovered. But I mean, come on, he's ball security. Can't do it. Those are bad turnovers. And he got sacked a few times. He got roughed up a little bit. I mean, obviously played well against Tampa Bay, and Tampa Bay maybe wasn't best prepared to do or defend against Mariota, but the Browns obviously were. And the Browns pull out a victory. And Mariota, like you said, a little bit more down to earth, obviously, but I expect Mariota to bounce back. And next week the Browns play the Raiders, and you got Manziel versus Carr, who were both in the same draft. Should be a lot of fun, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Manziel obviously did enough to win the game, and like you said, Benjamin's nice deep threat.
Yeah, he's fast.
Fantasy-wise, people are probably going to jump all over him after these first 2 weeks, but realistically, he still doesn't get a ton of targets, so it's not necessarily the most stable thing, relying on deep passes all the time. And I think Johnny Footballs, he's still more comfortable, obviously, trying to just make things happen, like, on the go. He's not necessarily there yet, and I don't know how much he'll progress at being like more of a pocket guy, or a guy that can just go with like the flow of the offense instead of making things happen when he needs to. But that's also nice to have, when things are breaking down, or and he needs to escape. He's got that ability. His throw on the run is actually pretty good too.
Yeah, he throws really good on the run. on still.
He still has, and they're usually, I think I saw 2 of them where he was rolling left. He's going the opposite way. He still turns his body and just flings his whole self into it like a javelin throw. I don't even know, but he gets it there on those, and that's kind of fun and exciting to look at. Betters they have. So even if he's not necessarily playing great, he's not the worst thing that they could be putting on the field right now for that team. So he is their best chance to win. Where I don't know if that would have been true last year, but it certainly is right now. Next game, Falcons-Giants. Falcons improved to 2-0. Meanwhile, the Giants dropped to 0-2. Falcons winning that one 24-20.
Brett, you gotta admit, Matty Ice making plays. Come on, Brett. He's played really well. All right, come on. In fact, I sure tweeted it at you. I saw a stat about how Matt Ryan's like fourth quarter stats. He's living up to his hype of being Matty Ice these last 2 games.
You know who else is really good? Julio Jones. The guy's got 50. I think it was like 59 straight catches without a drop.
Yes, I agree.
Without a drop.
Julio Jones is a monster.
Anyone else, man? That dude is. He's legit. Probably might be playing better than any receiver outside of Antonio Brown.
I would say it's between Brown and him, man. The 2 of them are just on a different level right now. I definitely agree with.
Yep. I mean, anything else to say? Okay. Obviously, I think they're probably the favorites in the division now, especially with, the Saints and Drew Brees not playing great and his injury and the team in general just being awful. Tampa Bay can't really put out, like you said, it might be going to come down to the Falcons and the Panthers.
Yeah,
It's a miracle that the Panthers are stumbled there because I don't know how they're scoring points.
Yeah, it's interesting. And the thing about the Giants have lost now 2 games where they've had a lead in the fourth quarter, going into the fourth quarter. In fact, it might be 10-point lead both times, and they've lost. So if you're a Giants fan, though, I still think the Giants could legit win the division, especially with all these slew of injuries and the Eagles imploding. I mean, I think the Giants could still come out winners in that division.
This is really weird watching you right now because the audio way behind the video. But that division is still not great. You've got Washington. Somehow Kirk Cousins lead the team to victories. I don't know. Dallas is hurt, and the Eagles are apparently not what we thought they would be. I won't hit the panic button yet. And like you said, they have had leads. They've just given it up. If they would have scored a field goal or whatever, even it would have been a much different kind of game there at the end. But they didn't score anything there in the fourth, and they gave up 14. So I don't think that's something that's going to consistently happen. It just happened to have these last 2 weeks. Rams, Redskins, Redskins looked great week 1, ended up coming back and beating the Rams, who looked really good in week 1 by beating the Seahawks. The Redskins getting victory 24-10. Matt Jones, running back for Washington.
Yeah.
Coming out and just killed him. Slightly unexpected.
Yeah, I don't think anyone really expected him to come out and have a big game. Kirk Cousins played well. Maybe there's a little pulse in Washington. And as far as the Rams, come on, I'm really disappointed. They beat Seattle. Maybe they just had a big high and we're like, oh, it's just the Redskins. You don't need to worry about them. And then in the NFL, you do that, you're going to get beat.
I wonder when Todd Gurley's supposed to be coming back soon, right?
Yes. Yep.
I think he was online. He's been practicing, so should be kind of fun and interesting when they get that going because right now their best running back, I feel like, is Tavon Austin. He's a receiver. So maybe somebody in there that can actually run the ball at the running back spot, and hopefully maybe that'll help the Rams kind of take off a little bit. Next game, Dolphins-Jaguars. Jaguars picking up a surprise victory, 23-20 over the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, I mean, Blake Bortles played pretty well. Allen Robinson had a good day. The thing I'll say about the Dolphins, apparently there's reports Sue was busy freelancing instead of, doing what he was supposed to do. So that's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, they're already kind of like people throwing Sue under the bus. They already got rid of their kids sick of that guy and they just signed into a $100 million deal, he's 2 games into his contract. You can't – he's obviously a really good player, and sometimes you give some certain guys, I guess, the ability to freelance at certain times. Maybe Sue's obviously good enough to be that type of guy, but if it's not helping the team or if other guys are kind of, noticing that he's not helping them out, then that's going to be changed. Somebody's got to talk with him. And of course, Sue, being the nice guy he is off the field, will probably say the right thing and then go up and do some shenanigans on the field anyway. So,
right. I agree.
Next game, Raiders somehow picking up the victory over the Ravens, who fall to 0-2.
Yeah. The Ravens, I mean, ouch. It's too close. It's 2 losses for them already. The Raiders, yeah, surprising. Carr played well. Cooper got that connection going. Maybe a little glimpse of what Raider Nation might be looking forward to in the future.
Dude, Mike Cooper is for real. And I think he was probably my favorite player coming out of the draft. I know I had him as my number 1 receiver in front of Kevin Love. White's hurt.
Oh, yeah.
So we don't really get a chance to kind of see, what would have been. But I think Cooper's at least, showing that he was well deserving of being rated the number 1 receiver. And I don't know what's happening in Baltimore, but after that running game they had the year before, it's definitely not the same this year.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on in Baltimore. It's not good.
We're down to the final 3 games here. The Cowboys and the Eagles. Cowboys putting away the Eagles 20-10, actually holding the Eagles scoreless for the first 3 quarters. But not without cause. Tony Romo injured, probably out 2 months or so.
Yep, he's slated to come back week 11.
Eden. Ouch.
Yeah, he's on the IR, designated to return. Is what they put him on. Obviously, we just mentioned they made the trade for Castle, so they get him in. By the time Brandon Whedon came in the game, he didn't have to make a ton of plays. And if you're the Eagles, man, I think you mentioned earlier, it's not time to jump off the ship yet. I mean, you're 2 games in. Yeah, you might have played one of the worst games I've ever seen, but there's no time to completely panic and abandon ship. Chip Kelly traded away and got rid of a lot of talent on that team. He needs to really step it up and show everyone, what the Eagles are supposed to be. Yeah, they got their work cut out for them.
Yeah, you mentioned who they got rid of. And then, of course, the one guy that they bring in, Byron Maxwell, has not played like the type of guy that you bring in and have your number 1 corner. He's not played good at all, really.
He's been horrendous,
So it's
to say the
been
least.
It's a bit surprising, a little disappointing if you're Philly, and obviously if you're Chip, kind of like, damn, what kind of talent evaluator am I really? And obviously, we got a Sunday night game. Packers defeating the Seahawks 27-17 at home. Packers improved to 2-0, while Seattle falls to 0-2.
Well, if you're Green Bay, I watched the whole game. God, Aaron Rodgers he really does. I mean, the Packers, I thought the Seahawks were getting good pressure, and I think one of my key takeaways from it was, so the Packers' interior linemen, I think both their guards and their center, probably one of the better combinations in the whole league for guard and center like combination. I think the tackles kept allowing pressure to rush up the field, and if your guards and center don't allow those guys to get pushed the pocket back into Rodgers, he has no place to step up, and Rodgers is able to step up several times, buy extra time and do what Aaron Rodgers does, which is really, really hard to stop on a defense.
Yeah, and he does a really good job of escaping too. There were a couple times because the tackle spots are kind of not great. Where some guys kind of crashed in or pushed those guys back into him, but he somehow finds a way to escape. And then when he does escape, he does a great job keeping his eyes downfield, making throws from however the hell he decides to throw, rolling left off 1 foot, off no feet. He's got the arm talent to get that anywhere. That first touchdown to Jones, I think, was sort of the same way, where he kind of was rolling left and then flipped it back towards the middle of the field and went over, I don't know, that was the tight end, Richard Rodgers, who thought was him, ended up right James Jones, who beat, Richard Sherman to the inside for a touchdown.
It was
So that
the
was
one thing I'll say for the Seahawks, people are probably gonna, I don't know if they're gonna criticize Wilson, but I understand why, if you're a Seattle fan, why you're kind of frustrated with Darrell Bevell. Like, I thought the Seahawks did much better when they opened up the offense for Russell Wilson and allow him to throw the ball and make plays with his feet and not so much of the traditional kind of thing. I think if I were the Seahawks, I would do that more often. I think Wilson has the arm talent and ability to do it. I think Darrell Bevell's kind of holding him back from doing it for some reason. I'm not really sure why.
Yeah, and I honestly felt that way in the Super Bowl too. Dating back then, obviously with the exception of the last play, but I think that first quarter he didn't complete a pass. He didn't complete a pass till halfway through the second. But at that point, he'd only attempted 3 passes. And they're losing, and then they had to throw it. I thought they did better. They opened it up, got on the field, scored some points. It was the same thing, I think, in that game. They only scored a field goal in the first half, down 13-3. And then in the third quarter, they scored 2 touchdowns when they kind of flipped opened up the playbook a little bit. Also interesting to note, obviously Cam Chancellor is still holding out, and his holdout has cost him $2 million, which is more money than I think the contract that he's been trying to sign. I think he's just trying to up it $1 million, maybe it's $1 million per year over 4 years or something. But still, at this point, he's cost himself probably more money than he's going to recuperate in the end. And Seattle's not going to. I don't think they're going to do anything because he just signed that deal 2 years ago, an extension. They're not going to give him another extension after just 2 seasons. So he's holding out for a losing cause. And sound like some of the players in the team were kind of upset that they're like, hey, he's not here. We're not even thinking about him. We just got to worry about what we got going on. He's got his own thing. If he wants to pick himself instead of the team, that's on him, I guess. And that's sort of what their feeling is right now from some of the players who obviously have, I think, a pretty tight group usually, a nice brotherhood when it comes to that sort of thing. But I think they just really like him to get his ass back and stop holding out.
Yeah, and I mean, all this off-field stuff. If you're Seattle, there's a reason that teams don't three-peat and don't get to 3 Super Bowls in a row. It's just hard. It's just really hard. I just think it's hard to keep everyone motivated to play at an extremely high level when you have other teams that are super hungry to get there.
Right, and guys that are willing to kind of make some sacrifices, for the team. Obviously, those last 2 years with Russell's contract and some of the other guys on the team, they were getting really good deals. Richard Sherman Thomas were making chump change based on value. And I think that obviously is part of it too. You got those guys signed, and then another guy wants to get his money back up there. But when you sign all those guys, you obviously eat into the cap. They don't have room right now really to just say, oh, sure, Cam, we'll give you a couple more $1 million because they just don't have the space. It's something they can do, and that's a sacrifice that to help the team he's going to have to make. He agreed to that deal recently, but he's kind of holding out and not helping anybody, not himself. Not if I'm sitting there and somebody tweeted up, they're like, oh, what do you guys think Cam Chandler's thinking? And I'm like, I don't think he's thinking, hey, this is great for me because I'm getting paid. I'm thinking, hey, when the hell will my next paycheck come in? Instead, I'm paying my team right now, not being there. So I don't know. I guess we'll figure what happens with him soon. Hopefully he signs back on because I love the Seahawks and my boy Russ. I want them to do well. And then the last game, last night, the Jets, Colts. Somehow the Jets, not somehow, I mean, they won 20-7. It wasn't even really that close for the most part. But at the same time, it got close because the Jets, for all the ineptitude offensively scoring points, just couldn't put the Colts away. They only had a 10-0 lead going into the third, despite holding Andrew like one of his worst games, I think, probably in a while.
Well, that's 2 games that Luck has not played good in back-to-back weeks now.
Yeah.
He's going against 2 good defenses, to be fair, and the Jets have, man, they got some guys for sure.
Them and Denver might have probably the scariest sets of corners in the league. And Frank Gore, obviously, I mean, he fumbled the ball on his own, running to the end zone.
Yeah.
That's one of those plays that you can't have. That's bad. So they shot themselves in the foot. I mean, despite literally, not literally, but despite that, still in position in the fourth to win. I don't know if I'm ready to panic on these guys quite yet.
The Colts?
Though they do have a really difficult schedule coming up. Yeah.
Well, the thing about the Colts, though, you got to remember, they play in the AFC South. Like, they're by far, even with their struggles, I still think that they should probably win the division. They might not win a ton of other games, but they'll be good enough to win their division, I would think.
Right? They'll probably end up looking like a Carolina or something last year, where the rest of that division stinks. Get to 8-9 wins, and that's probably good enough still to get to the playoffs. But yeah, they've got a pretty difficult schedule, and I think didn't they start 0-2 last year?
They may have, yeah,
or something like that. It was didn't have a great start last year, and obviously came back and made it all the way to the, I think, AFC Championship game. So I'm ready to hit the panic button. That's weeks 3 and 4, because you're at a fourth of the season at that point. Right now. This is the end of what we had to talk about.
No, you're kind of cutting in and out a lot. So, I mean, we did get through all the teams, so we did that. So, I guess since we're starting to lose Brett a little bit, we'll call this show good. Hopefully next week we'll get through everything all right, and yeah, until next time, guys.
Stop.